begin with Brajanaparamita Hridaya Sutra read in Nepali, if possible.
Avat cinta vilapanam pragya paramita majam anirodham nabhorupam swasam vijnana gocharam pratyekaikasyatam vande trikala jinamataram. मैले यस्तो सुने एक समयमा भगवान राजगृहमा गृद्धकूट पर्वतमा ठुलो भिक्षु सङ्घका साथमा र ठुलो बोधिसत्व सङ्घका साथमा विहार गर्नुभएको थियो। त्यो बेलामा नै भगवान गम्भीर अवसम्बोध नाम गरेको समाधिमा प्रवेश गर्नुभयो। त्यही बेलामा आर्य अवलोकितेश्वर बोधिसत्व महासत्व गम्भीर प्रज्ञा पारमितामा चर्या गर्दै रहँदा यसरी हेर्नुहुन्थ्यो कि 5 स्कन्धहरूलाई स्वभाव शून्य देख्नुहुन्थ्यो। अनि आयुष्मान सारिपुत्रले बुद्धको अनुभवले गर्दा आर्य अवलोकितेश्वर बोधिसत्वलाई यस्तो भन्नुभयो, जो कोही कुलपुत्रले यो गम्भीर प्रज्ञा पारमितामा चर्या गर्न इच्छा गर्दछ भने उसले कसरी सिक्नु पर्दछ। यति भनेपछि आर्य अवलोकितेश्वर बोधिसत्व महासत्वले आयुष्मान सारिपुत्रलाई यस्तो भन्नुभयो, हे सारिपुत्र, जो कोही कुलपुत्र या कुलपुत्रीले यो गम्भीर प्रज्ञा पारमितामा चर्या गर्न इच्छा गर्दछ उसले यसरी हेर्नु पर्दछ। ती 5 स्कन्धहरूलाई पनि स्वभाव शून्य देख्दछ। रूप शून्यता हो, शून्यता नै रूप हो। रूपभन्दा शून्यता बेग्लै होइन, शून्यताभन्दा रूप बेग्लै होइन। जुन रूप हो त्यही नै शून्यता हो, जुन शून्यता हो त्यही नै रूप हो। यसै गरी वेदना, संज्ञा, संस्कारहरू र विज्ञान पनि शून्यता नै हुन्। यस प्रकार हे सारिपुत्र, सम्पूर्ण धर्महरू शून्यता लक्षणवाला छन्। उत्पन्न नभएका, निरोध नभएका, मल नभएका, विमल पनि नभएका, कमी नभएका, सम्पूर्ण पनि नभएका छन्। त्यसकारण नै सारिपुत्र, शून्यतामा न रूप हुन्छ, न वेदना, न संज्ञा, न संस्कारहरू, न विज्ञान हुन्छन्। न चक्षु हुन्छ, न कान, न नाक, न जिब्रो, न शरीर, न मन हुन्छ। न रूप हुन्छ, न शब्द, न गन्ध, न रस, न स्पष्टव्य हुन्छ, न धर्महरू हुन्छन्। न चक्षु धातु हुन्छ र त्यहाँदेखि लिएर न मनोधातुसम्म केही हुन्छ। न धर्म धातु छ, न मनोविज्ञान धातु छ। न विद्या छ, न विद्याक्षय छ र यहाँदेखि लिएर न जरा मरणसम्म केही छ। न जरा मरणको क्षय नै छ। न दुःख समुदय निरोध र मार्गहरू छन्। न ज्ञान छ, न प्राप्ति छ, न अप्राप्ति नै छ। त्यसकारण हे सारिपुत्र, प्राप्ति नहुनुले गर्दा बोधिसत्वहरूको प्रज्ञा पारमितालाई आश्रय गरेर चित्तको आवरण हट्दछ। चित्तको आवरण नभएपछि त्रासरहित भएर विपर्यासहरूलाई अतिक्रमण गरेर निर्वाणमा स्थित हुन्छन्। तीनै कालमा भएका सबै बुद्धहरू प्रज्ञा पारमितालाई आश्रय बनाएर नै अनुत्तर सम्यक सम्बोधिमा अभिसम्बुद्ध भएका हुन्छन्। त्यसकारणले प्रज्ञा पारमिताको महामन्त्रलाई जान्नुपर्छ, जुन अनुत्तर मन्त्र हो। त्यो समानको अर्को कुनै पनि नभएको मन्त्र हो। सबै दुःखहरूलाई शान्त पार्ने मन्त्र हो। यो सत्य हो, मिथ्या नभएको हुनाले प्रज्ञा पारमितामा बताइएको मन्त्र हो, जुन यस प्रकार छ, गते गते पार सङ्गते बोधि स्वाहा। गते पार सङ्गते बोधि स्वाहा। गते पार सङ्गते बोधि स्वाहा। यसरी सारिपुत्र, गम्भीर प्रज्ञा पारमितामा चर्या गर्न बोधिसत्वले सिक्नु पर्दछ। अनि त भगवान त्यस समाधिबाट जागेर आर्य अवलोकितेश्वर बोधिसत्वलाई साधुवाद दिनुभयो। साधु साधु कुलपुत्र, त्यो ठिक हो, कुलपुत्र, त्यो ठिक हो। गम्भीर प्रज्ञा पारमितामा यसरी नै बोधिसत्वले सिक्नुपर्छ, जस्तो कि तिमीले निर्देश गर्यौ। तथागत अरहन्तहरूले अनुमोदन गर्नुहुन्छ। भगवानले यस्तो भन्नुभयो, उदात्त मन भएका आयुष्मान सारिपुत्र र आर्य अवलोकितेश्वर बोधिसत्व सहित त्यो सबै परिषद, देव, मनुष्य, असुर, गन्धर्व सहित लोकले भगवानले भनेको कुरालाई अभिनन्दन गरे।
Okay, so this is quite a deep and vast subject, and It's not going to be easy.
这
Oh, I forgot that there's those who do wish to get into Prajna Paramita deeper. You might want to take note, and this gives you time to make notes. They are supposedly, in fact, they are supposedly, the teaching is so vast that what we have today, at least in the Tibetan translation, we have 100,000 verses, Prajna Paramita.
那在这
About 12 volumes. Now, this is, Tibetans and Indians are not so good with numbers, but this one is not an exaggeration.
那
Then there's Niti, we call it, 20,000 verses, the collection of Prajna Paramita, 20,000 verses.
那另外
And then there's also the 8,000 verses.
And-
And then the, Prajna Paramita, even those who don't really understand what is in the text, in the Mahayana countries such as China, Tibet, it's quite a big deal. There are traditions such as just to having the collection of books in the shrine.
那以前就有一种习惯是不一定知道里面是什么，可是就收藏这个般若寄送在自己的佛堂里面，就已经是很好的事情。
Sometimes lay people request monks to even do what we call a shalche, which is just flip through the pages, not even read, just flip through. Prajna Paramita is like I would say, like a heart and the soul and the spine and the head of Mahayana Buddhism. But not just Mahayana Buddhism. Buddha said in the Prajna Paramita Sutra, "Kang nyenthuji sala labar debejen sherabchi parud chimbara labar jao. Kang changjusim sala labar debejen sherabchi parud chimbara labar jao," which means those who want to achieve liberation of different categories such as arhat or bodhisattva, yana, and so on and so forth, they all have to go through the Prajna Paramita. Basically, it's very important. In fact, Buddha said this is the only way. But of course, this time we are sort of just touching and discussing the Prajna Paramita Hridya, which is the quintessential Prajna Paramita Sutra, which is only like 2-3 pages. And I insist, we are only going to sort of, we will try to just provoke some curiosity. That's all, I could do. When asked Davatagwa Chandakirti, to whom should we teach Prajna Paramita or the Shunyata? One would think, he would say, oh, Harvard graduated or Campos. To them we should teach Prajna Paramita. He said, Prajna Paramita should be taught, Shunyata should be taught to only those, by mere mentioning of the word Shunyata, they have goosebumps, they have tears in their eyes. Only to these people you should talk. There's also a story, once Manjushri discussed Prajna Paramita or the Shunyata. 500 arhats vomited warm blood, hot blood, and died.
那也有
It's just not possible to accept.
就是没有办法，
Let's see within these 5 days who's going to die.
我们看
I, for one, I'm still alive, which means 2 things.
那如果还有两个还活着的话，有代表两件事情。
I have mastered this completely, or I have no clue at all.
我们
Definitely the first one, I have to say this. Now, if you ask who taught this? Then yes, Buddha. But when we say word taught, this needs to be discussed, because we are not on when we talk about, when we say he taught, not necessarily he used his lips and mouth or used language. Many times he taught in a totally opposite way, meaning not talking, not using lips.
Right.
In fact, Prajanaparamita Hridya, he was sitting, nothing, he was, we will discuss this, but this is not coming from his mouth. And this has a very, very, very important, significant, we will discuss later, if I remember. Why was he not using his mouth? Why was his disciples discussing this? And why? And this is considered his teaching. This is a sutra, Prajanaparamita Hridya Sutra, which is usually is supposedly the words of the Buddha. So why is it categorized as this? Why not Shastra? Anyway, as I said, Prajanaparamita is a very important for Buddhism, and historically also places like China hosted. China is one of the biggest hosts of Prajanaparamita tradition or the teaching. Of course, Japan, Korea, they also became vessel for Prajanaparamita for many centuries. And yes, of course, Tibet. In India, in the past, Prajanaparamita was a very important especially, made more important by guys like Nagarjuna and Asanga. Okay, you might want to ask, what's the benefit of this Prajanaparamita? Will it help us have good sleep? Yes, definitely. I'm not making it up. I'll quote. 야다베나 셔럽지 파르트 진빙 침빙하 릭바 침빙하 라나메빙하 미냠바다 냠바르 집빙하 능할 탐지 랍도 시버르 집빙하, meaning yes, good for sleeping if you have an insomnia problem. Nepali translation, dungal 탐지, all the dukhas will, very good. Yes, it includes everything. Is it good for relationship? In case you are having a relationship problem, yes, it's good for this. Is it good for parenting? Absolutely. Should you be talking to your infants, babies, kindergarten students? Should you be talking to teenagers? Yes, this should be one of the subjects. Is this good for business? Oh my goodness, very much, very much. I mean, even in the Indian tradition, Suresh, please correct me. There's something called, they say you need to have fun. Then in order to have fun, you need to have money, and you need to have a discipline. And finally, they say moksha, you need to know everything is illusion. These days, the fourth is what you don't hear from Harvard or Yale. They teach you how to have fun, what is fun. They teach you how to make money to have fun. They teach you how to have the discipline, thousands of books, but the last one they don't teach, that everything is an illusion. That they don't teach. This is why the business people, they suffer. So this is for happiness, this is for health, but they are all bonus. They are not the aim. I like quoting Chandrakirti, this one, again and again. What did Chandrakirti say? Chandrakirti said, the idiots do bad things and go to hell. Idiots do good things and go to heaven. Idiots still. Only the wise ones go beyond good and bad and get liberation. So, this is so important. Is the aim to be happy and healthy and calm and peaceful? No.
所以这很重要
I。have to insist this because Buddhism is associated these days with happiness. Very dangerous. I will protest wholeheartedly. Buddhism is not for happiness.
那么现在
Remember, idiots do good things and go to heaven. They are the idiots who wants happiness.
记得
To be non-violent is not a Buddhist aim. I mean goal, ultimate goal.
要
They are bonuses, bonuses.
非暴，
This is so important, so important
这个非
before
常
we
重要，
even begin this.
这个非
So for Buddhism, out of lack of choice of words, I will use the word liberation. Liberation is the goal.
那
But the words like a liberation, nirvana, enlightenment is, they are so, I don't know, should I say overly used, or there's just so many, these words are used in so many ways. There's a nirvana hotel, there's a nirvana escort service, so on and so forth. We don't know, there's so much used. I mean, there are good reasons why these, it became like that, because of language, because of culture, and also because of capacity of people. So the liberation is heard and understood in many, many levels and different ways.
那当然也可以了解，因为受这个语言文化还有人类理解上的这个限制呢，所以像解脱这样的字就被诠释或者被这个理解成很多不一样的层次。
Okay, for now, just for the sake of, this, how many days we are doing this? 5 days?
Five.
5 days, yeah. For this 5 days, but at least let's call liberation. When we say liberation, we are talking about, we are referring to realizing the truth. I think this will do for now. But we will discuss this later.
可是我们
Okay, now, before we begin this, we need to prepare a few things. We need to prepare, or I don't know, how should I say? We need to have a sort of a mutual sort of understanding between, mutual understanding. So I'd like to prepare a few things here first.
Yeah.
What I mean, what I mean by a certain phrase, language, words. Let's begin, let's prepare a little bit. Well, we need to also sort of appreciate a little bit about how the Indians think.
那我们
The Chinese and the Europeans, you'll have to sort of switch this a little bit. Switch this
对
on
是
a little bit. And also Indian way of constructing a logic, and especially Buddhist. That one we need to prepare a little bit. Otherwise, what I say, what you hear is never going to meet. Okay? To do that, first you need to know what we in Tibetan call Tangden Dang Ngeden, these two categories. Buddha taught so many things.
佛陀教了
There are certain teachings that he taught, he actually didn't really mean it.
有
I dare not say he was lying, but it's kind of, he didn't really mean it. Then there are certain teachings that he really meant it.
那当然有
This is very, very complicated. This distinctions between whether he meant it or he didn't really mean it, Oh, there's a whole study going on. And this is a particularly, I was talking to you earlier about, how the Westerners and Chinese, they should sort of appreciate this a little bit, because I have a feeling that this is something, especially in the West, probably they don't have this way of thinking. Yes, Cinderella and Alice in the Wonderland, mother don't really mean it, right? The mother, when she's telling a kid to put the kid to sleep, Cinderella and the Alice in the Wonderland, she didn't really mean it, but there is an aim. The mother need to put the kid to sleep. That is the goal. Because if the baby don't sleep, the mother gets stressed in the morning and then whole thing falls apart. Stuff like that. So there is an aim. When the Western philosophers, which I don't know much, very little, but when the Western philosophers or the scientists, when they don't seem to have these distinctions. First, and especially scientists, they don't talk about like, oh, they really don't mean it, or they really mean it. They don't say this. But the one thing I need to say, the scientists, they never make decisions. They say, well, this is so far the finding, but we don't know next year. You understand? Whereas in Buddhism, it's already decided. Okay? There's no changes. 최남지 최인이 대신식분은 중요한 마중요한 주로매바고 whether the Buddhas have come or not, the truth of the phenomena is unchanging. All compounded things are impermanent. All compounded things are impermanent before Siddhartha came. And all compounded things are going to be impermanent for, looks like, long time. Until somebody proves, no, one compounded things become permanent. It's contradictory. It doesn't. There is no such thing as a compounded phenomena and permanent. It doesn't. But for the Buddhist mind, it doesn't work. Okay. Anyway, the teachings that require, really mean it or not really mean it. Is it? That's a big one in Buddhism.
因此，这个不了义跟了义这两种教法，在佛教里面是一个很重大的这个题目。
Okay, I will give you some list of Buddha's teachings that he did not really mean it. Okay, I'll give you. All the morality teachings are in the category of he didn't really mean it. Be a good, be a good boy. Don't be a good, but bad girl. All of this, he didn't really mean it.
So,
be generous. He did not really mean it. Be vegetarian. Didn't really mean it. Sugar is not good. He did not really mean it. This is going to upset some of you.
诸位在座有些人听了可能不太开心。
I'm kind of afraid to even speak this out.
我写说他们好像
Mindfulness.
正念
Mindfulness. These days Buddhism, mindfulness this, mindfulness that. Buddha didn't mean it. I'm sorry, but Buddha really did not mean it.
正念
Because if mindfulness is what Buddha really, really meant it, Buddhists will have forever constipation. Forever. Then another one.
然后还有一个
Love and compassion. Really mean it. I'm sorry, but he did not really mean it.
很抱歉，
Half of the bodhicitta also he did not really mean it.
这个
This, the next one, so important, so important.
下一个非常重要。
I'll be really blacklisted after this.
What's that?
karma,
业力
reincarnation. He did not really mean it.
转
And then the biggest one, samsara, nirvana, he did not really mean it.
最大
Long after Buddha, he's one of his disciples. Shantideva said in the Bodhicharya Avatara, Dunghal never hidendu drevi mongpa domija. He said, practitioners are allowed to keep one ignorance
在
for the time being. You understand? You are allowed to have one ignorance.
你可以被容许保留一个无明，
And what is that?
那是什么？
Think that there is an enlightenment.
认为
So, this is a very brief list.
这是一个简
Now, what are the teachings that he really meant it?
那他
One that we are supposedly going to be discussing for the next 5 days.
就是我
As I said earlier, distinguishing between the distinguishing these two, what he really meant it or not, is very difficult. Because it also depends on the one who's doing the listening of the teaching. When we talk about the teaching, we are always talking about, listener. We are always talking about that.
事实上我们在谈教法的时候，我们都是在谈这个听者。
I'll give you a glimpse of, even though this is not the right time, I will give you a glimpse of another angle, which I just want to give you this because, for people like me, Nepal is such a sacred land. It's a very sacred. It's supposedly Chakrasambhara Mandala. It's a tantric, it's a tantric world, so to speak.
那什么？
Now, just about a moment ago, I was saying, it really relies so much on who's listening.
刚刚
Okay, so if you read the life of the Buddha story, first thing after he achieved enlightenment, what did he say? Basically, he said, I have found a truth, that is brilliant, extremeless, peaceful, so on and so forth, but that no one is going to hear this. So therefore, I'm going to keep quiet in the forest. This is what he said.
佛
Ordinarily, you hear, oh, he doesn't want to teach because, it's too, we will not be able to hear it. He's not going to teach. And then what? The ordinary story is the Brahma and the Indra came rushing and said, please teach, give him, conch and so on and so forth. That's the story. That's how the story goes.
那一
From another angle, that was the most important teaching.
可是从另外
Beyond words, you will not hear it. There's no words, there's no language to
That's
teach. Profound, brilliant, deep, vast, infinite, uncompounded truth. He was already introducing that right at the beginning. I mean, think of it. Isn't it brilliant? He did the two things in one go. When he said, oh, I'm not going to teach because nobody is going to hear it, from one angle, it's not what he really meant it. But on the other hand, he actually meant it. You know what I mean? The same phrase, both there,
这个是
depending on who is hearing it.
这是
And then, anyway, the story goes like this. He went to Saranath, and there he taught four noble truths.
然后故事
And for the common students, he taught about how the worldly life is full of suffering and the truth of the suffering and the cause of the suffering, which is the emotion, etc. But there were not just 5 monks listening to that teaching. there were many other listeners, like many other listeners, and some of the listeners are very, very high standard listeners, and they heard it in a different way. They heard that samsara is bliss,
他们听到呢，
emotion is the wisdom. Okay, so between these two, we need to also discuss which one he really meant it, and I'm talking from the listener's point of view now.
在这
And this is really important. Now with this, we will begin with the text.
这非常
Sutra always begins, thus have I heard, thus I have heard. If you like, you can call it a disclaimer. That's in a way, it's a disclaimer. You guys, after 5 days, you can't really say, oh, Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche said this.
因为5
Or
天以
you only heard this way. Fortunately, there's a recording machine, I know.
不幸的是
But anyway, thus have I heard, meaning this is how I heard. It never begins with this is what Buddha said. And Sutra is very, very specific.
呃
And then Ananda, here even we have a dispute actually. This, thus have I heard. Some people say this, thus I have heard. This I is Ananda. Others disagree. Bhava Viveka, one of the great Madhyamikan philosopher, he said that I, thus have I heard, that I is actually Vajrapani. Some
金刚手，对不起，
some other Indian Panditas, they say that's actually Manjushri. I just want to tell you this because you need to know the culture of Buddhist teaching, so to speak. Majority of the Buddhists would agree with a great commentator of Prajanaparamita. His name is Singha Bhadra. He's really, really important. Sengizangbo, he's a very important Prajanaparamita commentator. He says it's Ananda.
可是
Other specific, at Rajgir, a specific place. 1 point. Already saying the Buddha have said different things at different audience and different places.
那这也在
This is important for the Buddhist students to know. You can call it, this is the richness of Buddhism. You can call it, this is what makes Buddhism so difficult and so, what do you call it, just too vast. It would have been so easy if Buddha said, okay, all Buddhists, no chicken. Nothing to do with, he really meant it or not meant it. No chicken. Go to Bodh Gaya once in a lifetime. Like that. All Buddhists must wear socks. Like this. Wouldn't be so easy. So easy.
如果
You can look at this. This is reflected to the Buddhist life also.
这也反映在这个
Look at these monks and nuns.
看这些
Shave their hair, paranoidly.
他们这个
But then you go to, I don't see it today, usually Nepal is full of this, but anyway, probably in Bauda, there are yogis who have long hair. They shave their hair paranoidly. They're both Buddhist. One is really trying to shave, the other is really trying to keep. What is this? And then even Buddha's disciple, there's people like Ananda or Shariputra who look so serene, bare feet, begging bowl, shaved head, speaking very gently, monk.
那在
People like Manjushri with the earring, necklace, aftershave, everything. Some sort of almost inseparable boyfriend and girlfriend together. Accept both.
那我们都接受，
We proudly accept them. This diversity, the richness, which can be very rich but can be very confusing. That's Buddhism for you now. Okay, we will soon going to have a break, but before break, one more preparation.
那待会
Language.
语言，
This is a difficult one.
这是一个很
If you know, for people like you and me, what we are trying to do is really trying to, the final aim, remember the liberation, the discovering the truth. How do we do that? For people like you and me, only way is talking and listening, so needing to use the language. Unfortunately, that's the only way. If you happen to be like a Naropa and I happen to be like a Telopa, our shoes will do it. But unfortunately, we are not. Maybe you are, but I am not. Language is always vague. The language is vague. If it's not vague, the poetry people will not have a good job. It's always changing, and also depending on different culture. For instance, I was, for instance, like Jane Austen. It's going to be difficult for a Tibetan Khenpo to read something like what Pride and Prejudice and make sense of what Mr. Bingley is talking about. You understand? I was just recently trying to read Balzac.
那么现
Balzac is French, right? French. Balzac.
法国大文
And I was reading it in English. He must have wrote in French, English, and me, I'm reading it. So, like many of it, I'm sure there's so many nuances that I am totally lost. When I was reading Balzac, one thing I thought, there are certain things that the French do, things like, stuff like that. I thought, this could have been also influenced by people like Balzac. Literature does have an effect on how you move your hand, I think.
等等。
But what I really want to say is during the course of these 5 days, what Buddhists mean, then, midden, like exist, non-exist, truth, not truth. All this, we have to pay some little bit of attention.
在未来5
It looks like some mad person wrote this Prajnaparamita. No eyes, no nose, no this, no that. But you can see there is my nose is right here, my ear is right here. What's this?
否则的话，
So these are some of the preparation. Well, I think this is what you need to hear so that you will have a lesser assumption